Hello, everyone, and welcome into the B&T Sports Talk Show. I'm your boy T, and on my left, not on my right, he ain't nowhere to be found. B is not here, y'all. It's just me. I'm doing it by myself. Just for the reason of B is out there playing some ball in Hawaii, having himself a great time, and hopefully winning some games for his team. I'm sure we'll hear more whenever he comes back. But thank y'all for joining us. If it's your first time listening to us, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that notification button if you're a subscriber, and hit that like button too on the video. We really appreciate it. So yeah, I'm just doing this solo, so we're gonna try this out, see how this goes. I appreciate y'all if y'all can get in the chat, give me some encouragement. We got B chiming in with the first comment. He lost. Dang. Well, I had high hopes. I was trying to give the man some hope here and talk about how he was helping win games, but apparently he didn't win, but that's all right, y'all. So we're gonna get into it. As always, we'll be covering all of the great things that happened in the NFL today. Well, not all, but some of the stuff from some of our favorite teams. I'm going to be talking about the Ravens for some reason. I don't know. I'll also be talking about the Raiders and the 49ers as well. Just talk about there's actually some pretty good games. Well, I did mention the Raider game, but the other games were a little bit better. But we'll get into it. So let's start with the NFL and get it going. We're gonna start with the Ravens, as I mentioned earlier. Who I'm only talking about this team because it's B's team, but we're gonna bring them into the fold. They had a one of those games where it felt like they were gonna play down to their competition. They do this throughout the year. If you've watched our show before, you've seen B lament about his Ravens, being so good against good teams, but against some of these other teams, well, they kind of find a way to be mediocre. And they did that today a little bit, albeit they did come out with the win. The Ravens played the Rams today in Baltimore, and the Rams, who've actually been on a 4-game winning streak, came in on fire and played pretty well throughout the game. This game was pretty close throughout. I think it was a 1-point game for a good portion of the second half. And, the Ravens found a way to get it done. I got to say, the pressure that the Rams were providing and some of the drop balls, specifically from Zay Flowers, he had a few through the game. It wasn't looking good for a minute there. And it looked like the Rams were on their way to getting an upset going, especially in this week where the Ravens, they have a clear path to being the number one seed in the AFC. So this is uncharted territory for the Ravens. We're talking about having home field playoffs throughout the AFC for their side of the bracket. So this is a great opportunity for them to get that done. And they tried to squander it, but they didn't. Nakua, had a pretty good game, had a huge catch in the fourth. Like where he just stretched out and caught the ball going out of bounds. The Rams, they managed to tie the game, and this thing ended up going into over OT. There was a weird play in the fourth quarter though, where Harbaugh challenged a touchdown by the Rams, even though when it's late in the game they already review it. So Harbaugh lost the timeout, and they pretty much came on the field and was like, "Yeah, man, we already looked at it, and it's touchdown." So I thought that was kind of stupid. One is the man threw the flag. Why the ref didn't pick it up and say, "Look, you could have his back. You made a mistake. I'm sorry. We already reviewed it up in New York, wherever they review it at. So go ahead and put that back in your pocket." But instead, they took the timeout and made him look stupid at the same time. So I don't know if maybe Harbaugh was just upset that his team was playing mediocre football or whatever it was, but it was funny nonetheless. So in OT, the Rams get an opportunity, they don't get it done, and then they punt the ball to the Ravens, and the Ravens run it back for a touchdown to win the game. So a huge win for the Ravens that puts them in, I believe, sole position really at what are they? So they're 10-3. They're looking good if they can win out for the remainder of the season. Let's see who else they got remaining on the schedule here. Well, who's next? So they got the Jaguars, the Niners, and the Dolphins. So it's not gonna be easy actually. They got 3 more games to go. The Jaguars, they might be able to get by because Jaguars look crappy today playing against, what are they playing? The Browns, I think. We can talk about that a little bit more. And Joe Flacco, ascends from the garbage dumpster like Oscar the Grouch rolls out onto the field and throws for 300 yards made absolutely no sense at all. But anyway, let's get back to the Ravens. So they got the Jaguars. That could be a win. The 49ers and the Dolphins. Those are going to be two really, really tough games against the Dolphins, another team that's probably going to have the same exact record. So, yeah, the Ravens going to have to put in some work to get this AFC to be atop the AFC, and we'll see if they can get it done. But, hey, this year's a good opportunity as any. Kansas City is falling by the wayside a little bit these past few games. The Bills are, ascending, but they're like 7-6, so they're a wild card team. So yeah, the Dolphins have an opportunity to also take that spot. So we'll see what happens. But not surprised by their performance. I thought again they played all right, and we'll actually see these last two games of the year if they can really cement themselves as being that A1 team after giving up 3 touchdowns to Matthew Stafford and Lamar Jackson, great game. Threw the ball 43 times. I mean, this guy is out here doing everything. He ran for the most yards. He threw for the most yards. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 316 yards passing, 70 yards rushing. I mean, the man is doing it all. Don't know how much longer you can keep this up. That Rams defense was pretty tough. They're going to play some other teams that can get to the quarterback. So I don't know. We'll see what they do. But B, I know you're listening in, man. Look, your team got a tough road to go. We'll see if they can get it done. And of course, I think they'll be in the playoffs. But the real goal here for this team is, can they get that home field advantage throughout and get that bye week the first week? So I'm curious if the Ravens can get it done. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. There was a dumpster fire of a game today between the Raiders and the Vikings that nearly put me and everybody else in my household to sleep. I mean, the Raiders end up losing the game to the Minnesota Vikings, 3-0. The very last drive of the game was probably the most offense that had happened the entire way. This thing was awful. It was rough. And I gotta say, I'm not sure like what happened or what occurred. Let's just put it this way: I watched this game, but there wasn't a lot to see. To the point that your boy Dobbs was benched in the fourth quarter for, was it Nick Mullins? Nick Mullins comes in and finishes the game. Nick Mullins is cracking me up because every time they put him on the TV, he's got the look on his face like he's either going to crap his pants or throw up, just to show you how bad this game was. Dobbs spent most of the game. He was getting pressured by the Raiders defense throughout. So the Raiders did a good job defensively of really getting after the quarterback. But I got to be honest, there wasn't a lot of offense here to speak of. This thing was a complete dumpster fire. Jacobs gets injured in this game, and without their run game, they really were struggling with O'Connell trying to lead the offense and really find a way to get something done. Again, I do want to praise the Raiders defense, but it's hard to say whenever both teams were just bad on offense. This game was. I'm glad that the Raiders are playing with enough intensity so that when I see the defense out there playing, they look like a team that's out there trying to get things done, trying to make it happen. But man, their offense is terrible. Ain't no Donnelly coming back next year, man. I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm wondering, like, what is this kid doing? What am I looking for in this quarterback to where I could say, you know what, this guy has a future on this team or even in the NFL? And I know that's unfair. It's only his first year, but man, it did not look good. So I feel bad for any Raider fan that kind of sat through that entire game only to watch the backup for the Minnesota Vikings come in the fourth quarter to engineer the longest drive of the entire game and beat the Raiders by 3 points. That's right. Again, they won this game 3-0. Again, very, very sad. Very sad. Hopefully the Raiders find a way to get on the right page with their offense. Obviously, without having Josh Jacobs in, that was a big blow for their offense during this game, but this was just a terrible game. So Dobbs threw 10 for 23 for 63 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Nick Mullins threw 9 for 13, 83 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And O'Donnell threw for 171 and one pick. We had 34 about 40 yards rushing. Again, was not pretty. There were a few turnovers in the game that also kind of set us back. But yeah, no, this was not a pretty game. Not much to talk about here. The Raiders are not in the conversation of playoffs, folks. They are 5-8. They're on the outside looking in. Meanwhile, Minnesota's in the hunt. But after watching that game, I don't know what they're in the hunt for other than a first round loss if they play in the wild card game, because they did not look good. Justin Jefferson comes back, gets absolutely smacked, gets obliterated, and gets taken out of the game immediately. Plays like a quarter, and that was that. So I'm gonna move on from this. I mean, if so folks got comments on this game, I just want to say, for the healthy of your own, spirit as a viewer, that game was not worth watching. But as a Raider fan, I sat through it and got what I got out of it, which was the Raiders ended up losing by 3. That's just awful. It's a terrible game. It really was. It's awful. Why do I even have to watch that? 3-0. I mean, nobody can score. O'Donnell's out there. Poor Dobbs is out there trying to throw the ball around. There's no offense to speak of. The defenses look great, but I can't tell if it's because they're good or if because the offenses are so bad. So hopefully the Raiders get it figured out going down the stretch. The Vikings obviously are in the hunt for the playoffs. But after that game, it's not very encouraging. I'll tell you that right now. Let's move on to the 49er game. And again, folks, if you're get in the chat, talk to me. I don't have B to talk to here, okay? I'm soloing this right now. You know what I mean? So give me, there's no backup dancers behind me. Shoot me some texts, shoot me some chats. Let me know what you felt about the games I'm talking about, or anything along the lines of sports. So let's jump right into the 49ers. So the 49ers coming off a big win against Philly. Now they take on their division rival. I don't know what we call it rival. They take on the Seahawks. No Geno Smith. Drew Lock, another quarterback that rolls out of the trash can onto the field, along with Joe Flacco, Nick Mullins, and any of these other folks you probably haven't heard their name in the past 4 to 5 years. I didn't even know this guy was still in the league, and yet here he is starting a game. And I can't hate on him because he didn't play that bad. The game was close early on, and so there was close for a little while there until the Niners put they put their offense into high gear. It had a big play to Deebo Samuels for a long touchdown pass. And that was kind of all she wrote after that. Trying to pull up the stats for this game, but the Niners spent a half looking okay, and then spent the next, the second half looking like the team that we thought that they were. I don't think the Seahawks really had a chance, but the 49ers offense has really been coming around, and we've seen that as we've seen more production from Deebo Samuel specifically. Last game, he had a huge game, over 100 yards receiving, and an overall yardage. This game, he followed it up, did the same thing again. He was 7 receptions, 149 yards, 1 TD. Brandon Ayuk had 126 yards receiving, and then Kittle rounds it out with 76 yards. This offense is really starting to kick into gear. There was a lot of talk, of course. We talked about Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy had a couple of bad games. These past few games, the Niners have really looked like the team to beat. And depending upon the game tonight between the Eagles and Dallas, they still have an opportunity to put themselves in the driver's seat for a home field advantage throughout. So we'll see how it plays out. But take a minute to talk about Brock Purdy. I mean, what can you not say about this guy? I don't want to gloat about the dude because I'm not a 49ers fan, but I mean, you're talking about Mr. Irrelevant here, who was the very last pick in the draft, came in off of injuries from, whoever those guys were. Who was it? Trey Lance and Garoppolo, who, I hate to go back to the Raiders game, but when I saw Nick Mullins come in, I was curious when Garoppolo was going to come in. Like, when were they going to bench O'Connell for Garoppolo to try to win this game? And somehow that worked out for Minnesota. In any case, back to the 49ers. So, Brock Purdy, after all that, earned his spot, won games, and is now, we have to remember that this is only a second-year quarterback. And he's actually continuing to ascend and grow. And I think we're starting to see that. 19 for 27 to date, 368 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, which was off a tip. I mean, the guy looked great out there. Christian McCaffrey back to his business, doing his thing. 145 yards, 9 yards a carry, ridiculous. I think the scary thing about this team is how well its offense is playing. We saw the defense turn. Now we're starting to see its offense turn. And they've got a few, about 3 more games remaining. One of those we mentioned against the Ravens, Bees Ravens. So this team, if they continue to play like they are, will only see Brock Purdy get better and better because, again, he hasn't reached his full potential yet as a quarterback within this system. And if that happens, well, it's going to be scary, man. It's going to be scary. We saw the Eagles they got the business. Seahawks got the same. This next game again, when they play the Ravens in a couple weeks, I think that'll tell us something about the Niners as well. But man, it's a scary team, dude. It's a scary team. I don't even want to admit it, but it's the truth. They're a scary team out there, and we'll see what they do the remainder of the season. We got to talk about this the skirmish with the fourth quarter when pretty much the game was over. The 49ers had got possession of the ball really to end the game, and on that play or turnover play, DJ Metcalf gets mad and just suplexes Wagner with the ball. Just takes him and flips him over his head on his back, and that turned into a huge skirmish where both teams are on the field. And I love it, man, because it reminds me of when the Seahawks were good, the Niners were good at the same time. All the back and forth between those teams and some of those players on defense. So seeing this is good to see some bad blood between these two. Leonard got ejected for running up and pushing Metcalf, and all crap breaks loose as guys are pushing and shoving and yada yada yada. Overall, really, this is just a Seahawk sour face move. A little bit of poor sportsmanship on the Seahawks' part. This game was over. They just needed to go home or sit on the sideline, and Metcalf wasn't having it. He wanted to beat somebody up because he was mad that their team, the Seahawks, after starting so well, they are now 6-7 and on the outside looking in the playoff race. So yeah, I don't blame him for being upset, but I mean, come on, man, you can't just go picking fights with linebackers. So. Hopefully y'all saw that, man. That was crazy. It's been a while since I've seen 2 football teams get into it. Although, I mean, if you're fighting in football, what are you doing? They're patting each other on the head. They got helmets and pads on. I mean, what are they really going to do? Until someone takes their helmet off, 2 guys take their helmets off and really go at it, I have yet to see an actual, real actual fight in the NFL. Again, folks, don't let me get parched because I'm getting parched doing all this talking. I need water. If you want to get in on the chat, please chime in. Let me know what you got to say, folks. Get in on it. I'm open to what y'all have to say and more than willing to talk about it. So we'll jump into some of the NFL stories around the league. I got a chance to sit down and watch that Kansas City Bills game, and all I got to say is Kansas City has the worst wide receiver core I've ever seen in my entire life. Not only are they jumping around, dropping balls from the greatest quarterback of this time, as far as Patrick Mahomes, and of course you can make an argument for that, but there is no arguing that this guy is a future Hall of Famer. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and he's got all these jabronis around him with just mitts for hands, like they can't catch anything. And on top of that, the play at the very end of the game, this game went back and forth between the Bills, and they finally get it 17-17 in the fourth. The Kansas City Chiefs have an opportunity to win the game because I believe it was 17-20 at that point. And they get the play they want. They get the pass to to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce does some weird spin-a-rooney turnaround, throws the ball across the field backwards to the receiver. The receiver runs it in for the touchdown. You're thinking the game is over. They got it done. Kansas City maintains their stronghold of the AFC West. Nope, nope, no. Flag on the play. Tony, for some Tony was offsides, standing in the neutral zone with his big right foot, standing right there on the line of scrimmage. They called the whole play back. Long story short, nothing comes out of that drive. Game over. This was, I mean, it's one thing to draw passes, but to make the play that loses the game for your team is inexplicable. All the dude had to do was put his big toe behind the line of scrimmage, and he couldn't even do that. Like I said, you can't catch a ball. Okay? You can't even line up on the line right. So that when somebody else makes a play and you get the TD, they got to call it back because this foot is on the line of scrimmage, lined up in the neutral zone for a wide receiver of all people. A wide receiver can look in at the ball at the line of scrimmage and know where the line of scrimmage is. Literally, can stand on the line of scrimmage, turn to the right, and see the ball. And then adjust if he needs to. I mean, we've all seen it before. This full foot on the line, and ruins the game-winning play. This is not the first time this has happened. Don't forget Scadlin, whatever the hell his name is, with the other wide receiver dropping the ball against, I believe when they were playing against the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken, drops the ball and has a surefire touchdown to win the game. These wide receivers are trash. And if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm getting on the phone with the owner, the coach. I'm calling an emergency meeting with the GM, everybody. And I'm saying, hey, look, check this out. We need to trade all these fools. Cut that one, trade this one. I need a wide receiver now. I don't care how much money it costs. Get rid of all these fools. I don't need none of them. They can't catch anybody not named Travis Kelce can take a hike as far as the wide receiver core goes. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. We don't need them. I'm telling you, man, like seriously. The fact that, they traded away Tyreek Hill. They bring in nobody knows his name. The opposite of Cheers. Nobody knows who these people are. Just a group of dudes. They get the one Super Bowl down. I'll give them that. But these guys have been terrible all year. It would be Tony. The only guy I think that's been a little better is Rishi Rice has stepped up. They don't have a clear number one wide receiver. And that's starting to show. They lead the league in drop passes. They have dropped 30-plus balls this year. 30. I mean, they might as well be playing basketball. Seriously. They might as well be playing Patrick Mahomes might as well take a basketball and throw it out there. That way they can dribble. Because that's what they're doing right now. They dribbling the ball. They dribbling the football. It makes no sense at all. This is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. Fire them fools. I don't know. Pat's Pat seemed like a nice guy. Well, he need to take that nice guy hat off. Go up to whoever it is. Talk to them and say, look, check this out. None of these dudes can catch. We ain't winning games. Let's go get some wide receivers because, in my opinion, watching that game was atrocious. They did enough to tie the game. They did enough to give themselves an opportunity to win the game. But again, a wide receiver steps up to make the most boneheaded play of the entire game. A wide receiver. The fool wasn't even catching the ball. He was on the line of scrimmage to get a penalty. Don't even make sense. Makes no sense. They're out here looking like bad news bears, and they just won a Super Bowl. Like I said, they need to fix that situation. There's no reason they should have that bad of a wide receiver core with that good of a quarterback. That's stupid. That's dumb. You know what I mean? That is absolutely stupid. So we'll see. Hopefully they figure it out in the offseason for sure. I'm sure KC will be making some moves, look for some trades. They have to if they intend on playing quality ball going forward. And again, folks, get in the chat. Let me know what y'all think about what I'm saying. I'm here all day. Not all day, actually. Not all day. For like the next 30 minutes. But go on and get in there and say something so we can talk about it. Let's move on to the Jets. The Jets did what now? They did what? They scored how many points? So if y'all didn't see this game, and I'm sure you didn't, who coming into today were interested in the Texans Jets game? For sure, the Texans had C.J. Stroud. I mean, you got a team that's coming off a couple of good wins. I mean, they got to come in there playing on fire, right? They lost 6-30 to the Jets. So the Jets decided we're done with Zappy. We're gonna go back to Zach Wilson. All right. And your boy Brees Hall and Zach Wilson, they lit it up, man. They had themselves a game. Now the Texans they lost C.J. Stroud in the fourth quarter, and that contributed to some of these additional points. But by the end, they still weren't doing anything. I mean, it was 14-6 in the third. They put up the Jets went crazy, put up another 16 in the fourth and got it done. And I give some kudos to the coaching for the Jets team. This is the team that's probably not going to make the playoffs. But they're competing. Their defense is competing at a very high level. They put C.J. Stroud on the ground and pretty much knocked him out of the game. So now C.J. Stroud, I believe, is in concussion protocol, man. So, hey, I don't know what that was about. But, welcome back, Zach Wilson. Hey, you played a good game. I'm looking up the stats right now. Let's look it up. I mean, not that anybody really care about Zach. Well, we're going to look it up anyway. 27 for 36, 301, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Probably the best game he's had all season. Brees Hall was catching passes, running the ball, doing a little bit of everything. He was out there as a three, just completely handling the offense, really. Garrett Wilson, the other Wilson, 9 receptions, 108 yards. So, we thought the Texans were for real. We thought they were out to compete. This game really kind of puts them back, and it makes them look like a team that just maybe got lucky a few times. And they are a young team, so maybe the expectations were a little high, and you are going into New York to play against the Jets. The Jets defense, although they haven't had much offense to speak of, the defense has been stellar throughout the year. And this particular game, they found a way to score the football. So 6 points for the Texans ain't going to do it. They've got a few games to go, too, with an opportunity to make the playoffs. We'll see how they do. And with C.J. Stroud being in protocol, hey, man, if they don't end up playing the next couple of games, well, might have been nice to dream about the playoffs, but might be a situation where, hey, it's not happening. It's not happening. All right, so let's move on to... It's quiet out there. Like I said, man, if y'all want to get in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling about what's going on in the NFL. I'm going to transition into the NBA. So we're going to talk about a few games. We're going to talk about a couple of teams, really, to be honest with you. And the two teams we generally cover the Lakers and the Warriors. So the Lakers and the Warriors this week didn't really play a lot of games, let's be honest. The Lakers won the inaugural in-season tournament. They won, y'all. They won it. What did they win? $500,000 a player. That's what they won. They even got a little trophy, too. Some hats, T-shirts, stuff like that. They didn't really... I mean, I'm a Laker fan, but, really, this wasn't a huge deal. It's good to see them win. And just to kind of explain coming from my perspective, what they got out of this, which is being able to see the Lakers play at a high level. They played at a much higher level than they did during the regular season. This was a great win for them, going up against some fairly good competition. The game against the Suns was very hotly contested game. They managed to squeak out a win. The game against the Pelicans was not a game at all. Zion, I mean, that man looking like, I don't know. He has maybe a year left in the league. The fact that he can't stay healthy, and I'm not talking about just injury, but I'm also talking about his stamina. I'm talking about his weight. And I'm not just poking at it just to make fun of him. He do look like Black Grimace out there, but I'm not trying to make fun of him. But at the end of the day, in order to play the game of basketball, you gotta have stamina, and he does not. He was out there looking winded, people. I mean, winded, and he had the likes of LeBron James and a 40-year-old man running around him. Everybody was running around him. He was late on his defensive assignments. He was getting lost on the defensive end of the ball. He kept running and jumping into LeBron and getting charges. I mean, he has to be a bust at this point. If he doesn't find a way to fix his situation with his health, injury wise and getting his weight down and his stamina up, he will not be in the league for very much longer. And I never thought he was going to be that great to begin with, honestly, when he was drafted. I mean, like he was athletic, he was big and athletic, but unless you have some skill set that you bring to the league, you're probably not going to be able to last as long. And especially when you don't have the work ethic behind it, you can forget it. It's over. It's over. He's going to be famous for blowing out his shoe. That's it. That's what people remember Zion. Remember when Zion busted a shoe when his foot went through a shoe during the NBA game? Yeah, I remember that. But what you won't remember is Zion being an all-star. You won't remember being him. He certainly won't be a Hall of Famer. He unless he get on, the best diet plan ever existed, go hire all of, Kobe's staff or something to go help him out. It's not gonna help, man. He's not there. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like after these many years in the league that he's gonna be able to turn the corner. Generally, you gotta make it that first 5 years. You don't start to show it, hey, it's over. Now, the Lakers did play against the Pacers in that last game. And speaking of another player who's turned the corner, Tyrese Halliburton, has been playing out of his mind, beating up on teams like the Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, getting it done, looking at the watch on his hand, trying to emulate Dame time against the game against the Bucks that led them to the final in-season tourney game. And, it was cute. I mean, the Pacers are a cute team. But nah, they were no match for the Lakers, man. The issue being is that we have a lot of larger defensive players to throw at Tyrese Halliburton versus a team like the Bucks who traded away their best defensive player in Drew Holiday. So now they're stuck with an undersized guard in Dame Lillard, or Middleton, who is not a defensive guy. They've got some other guys too, but they didn't have an answer for playing against a 6'6", Halliburton at the point guard position. They didn't have an answer for that. Well, we did. Between Cam Reddish, who is a sizable guard who's been playing noticeably better on the defensive end. Even Max Christie, a rookie who is at that 6'5", 6'6" height, can defend, has athleticism. And then Jared Vanderbilt, who's 6'8", 6'9", who can get out there and defend guards. Oh, yeah, we had some folks to throw at him. And we walled him off. The Lakers did a great job of playing and fronting him at the top of the key. We kept pushing him beyond the three-point line and forcing him to throw that pass over the top of his defender and a big in order to get the ball to what's his name? What's the guy? Whoever their big is, he was trash. And just completely took away a lot of the offense that they wanted to, they were trying to get effectively get. And so they got to give some kudos to the Lakers defense overall. We did a heck of a job of just making sure that these guys were not comfortable when playing. One guy who just completely looked, goodness gracious, awful was Miles Turner. Miles Turner had the unfortunate, assignment of trying to cover AD. And we all know AD is not aggressive all the time. But in this game, oh my God. AD went for 40 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks. So he filled up the stat sheet. And he just murdered everybody that they tried to put on him. It really didn't matter. Miles Turner fouled out of the game. He was not having a great game. He shot 5 threes, only made 1. He just wasn't at all helping out his team. Nothing. Buddy Hield, why didn't they trade him? Buddy Hield had 8 points, shot 27% from the field. Bruce Brown, all this money. Remember Bruce Brown, the Denver Nuggets, talking mess to the Lakers, talking mess to D'Lo, had everything to say, got paid, showed up, hit 2 shots. Shot 22% from the field. The Lakers defense is legit, y'all. I mean, I know they may not play at this level the entire rest of the regular season, but guys like Cam Reddish and Max Christie, and even even LeBron in this game really got up to play defensively. So got to give him credit for that. We also got to talk about Austin Reeves, who came through with 28 points of his own. They really didn't have an answer for him either. It always kind of surprises me when I see this dude out here playing taking guys off the dribble one on one, navigating screens. I mean, his skill set offensively as a guard is top notch, and he's really starting to show that to the point that where the nice feel good story of the Pacers coming in and some of the youth that they had, you thought had would have forced such an amount of energy on some of our players or the Lakers, to where we would have had no choice but to try to match that. But it was the other way around. Our energy was very high defensively, and and especially AD and Indiana had no answer. They didn't have the energy to match that, and didn't have the skill set either. So again, Austin Reeves 60% from the field, 28 points. The Lakers shot like 50% from the field this game. They'll get to collect the in-season tourney trophy or whatever, but really I think what I take from this is a team that actually shows that they can actually compete at a high level in the league, a seriously high level. And if they can compete defensively like that, but also get a very and this has always been the question mark, right? How forceful is AD being? And this is one of those games where he was, and man, he got it all. He got it all. So they got a next game coming up on Tuesday against the Dallas Mavericks. So it should be interesting to see. I'll be surprised if LeBron even plays this thing against them, to be honest with you. I mean, it looked like he tweaked his ankle or something in this game. He continued to play, but you know how it is with LeBron. Look, at this point, if you see him at any point lipping during the game, even if he finishes the game, he probably isn't playing the next game. So we'll see what the injury report looks like. But I'd be surprised if he shows up. Really surprised. So let's take a look at the other team, and that's B's team. We'll cover the Warriors. So the Warriors were 1-1 this week. Nothing to write home about. There weren't a lot of games played. They lost a game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, which they kind of had an opportunity to win this game, but it got away from them late. And they've had a couple of games like that where they've sort of been up, but unfortunately have not been able to close out games. Same thing happened against the Clippers, where they had a lead, gave it away, and then the Clippers came back and found a way to win. So the Warriors they're kind of struggling, and they're dealing with some injury issues as well. You got GP2 out, you got CP3 out, but let's keep it 100. I mean, did y'all really expect for CP3 to play a majority of the season? Nah. Chris Paul hasn't played a whole season in a better part of 6 years. He's been injured every single year. I guess the only good thing is it's not the playoffs and he's injured. So the hope is that y'all can keep him healthy throughout that duration, because right now it's a struggle right now. He was the one holding down that second unit. He was the one making guys like Kuminga play better. And without him, Kuminga's going to be up and down. Moody still playing pretty well. Hopefully he breaks into the starting lineup. Wiggins has been he's been meh at best. He's a guy that you need a little bit more from, and a lot of that is because of how up and down and inconsistent Klay Thompson has been. You know, if Klay was playing at a high level, you wouldn't need Kuminga to play that well, but unfortunately he hasn't, so you do. And that brings up a bigger question about this team overall. I mean, it's been some years now. You know, we know Klay isn't the guy he was. He cannot defend like he used to. He just can't. So he's not the guy that you're looking for on defense, on the defensive end of the ball. But his shooting is up and down, up and down. And he's had more downs than ups, unfortunately, this season. And so that's why with these big contracts looming, I mean, is this where we start to break this team down? Is this where you start to look around when we get to the trade deadline and see what is available for a Klay Thompson, for a Kuminga, or even a Moody if the right player is available, and package some of that together? The Warriors do have some picks. So I think this is where the Warriors should look to be buyers, you know, on this market, and try to see if there's a star or another guy that they can add that can take on some of the offensive load that, you know, is missing with Andrew Wiggins not playing that great and Klay neither. And here's Moody. He's playing well, but he's a young guy. And so, yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens during as we get closer to the trade talk season, after Christmas. What's going to happen here? I think they definitely need to consider moving some folks around. teams like the Chicago Bulls and some of these other teams are going to start, they're going to start selling. And me and B have talked about this before, but you really start to see it. It becomes more noticeable whenever guys are hurt. And that's when you really start to see where you're deficient. And the Warriors are deficient with their second unit. Although they've had some good play from Moody and what's his name? Padowitzki? Correct me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. But that's not going to be enough to beat these better teams, and that's what we're starting to see. The Steph Curry backpack ain't big enough, so they need to find some support. And then Draymond, stay on the floor, baby, stay on the floor. They need you. You literally don't have a center. There's just you and Kevon Looney. Stay on the floor. And I'm gonna save this story for whenever we get together with B next time. But I don't know if you guys saw that. Tani just signed a big contract for $700 million for 10 years with the Los Angeles Dodgers in baseball. Baseball with no cap is crazy, man. Did $700 million for a 10-year contract. $700 million. So he will be joining the already rich. The rich get a little bit richer. I know my man B was hoping that the Giants would take a stab at this, and they were a part of the discussion early on, but apparently money talks. And they pulled up the Brinks truck and dropped all the American dollars on this Japanese superstar. And so he will be joining the Dodgers. Whether that helps them win games or not will remain to be seen. The Dodgers have been buying up folks for quite some time now. It doesn't always equal championships, but that's where we are now. So I can't wait to get B on the show because I'm sure we'll have a rant to talk about, especially seeing as how the Giants did not get in on the action here. So folks, if you're on, feel free to get in the chat. Hit me up with some of the topics you guys would like to discuss. I'm here again. I'm doing this solo dolo. So if y'all, I don't have I don't have my partner here to bounce stuff off of. So if you guys got something you want to share, by all means, share it. And to give you all a quick update on the game right now, we've got actually a big game this evening. Got the Cowboys playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Cowboys are dominating. They're up 24-6. Third quarter is just underway, and man, what's happening with this? The Eagles, if they slide here, that's gonna put them in a tie with Dallas. And then even more so, now we're talking about the Philly being a wild card team at 10-4 or 12-4 or whatever it is. So the NFC is really heating up, and these last few games are really going to dictate where teams fall. If the Cowboys have been playing really good, but the question is, how good would they be against good teams? So this is a huge test for them. Now they are playing at home, so there's a little bit of help there. But if they pull this off, and it looks like they might, 24-6 so far, then yeah, both teams are 10-3. The NFC, there's no clear-cut winner in the NFC. You'll have 3 teams with 3 losses. And yeah, it'll be a toss-up with 3 games determining who will be the top seed. Man, I don't know if you know any insufferable Cowboy fans, but if the Cowboys find a way to win the NFC East, oh boy, it's gonna be you're gonna see all types of Dallas jerseys, everything coming out of the woodwork. Well, again, if there's anybody in the chat that wants to hop in, let me know. Let's see. So don't think we got anybody in the chat, but again, anybody in, you want to drop something in, let me know. I'll be glad to cover any topic. Let's see. All right. Well, folks, there's nothing else going on. I think that's all we got. I know this is a quiet one because we ain't got B on here. But if you appreciate the content, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and hit that notification button. We appreciate it. We'll be back on Friday for Pick'em Dummies. B is again in Hawaii, playing softball. I'm sure he's having fun. When he come on back, we'll hear about his stories, and hopefully, well, he said he lost, so we'll get more information on that. So I'm looking forward to another great week of football next week as we get closer to the NFL playoffs, and probably have some special cooked up for that. And then we'll continue with some of the stories throughout the NBA season to see what's going on this next week, as there will be a more fuller schedule of games because the in-season tournament kind of stifled a lot of the NBA games this past week. So thank y'all for joining and taking the time. And again, like I said, we appreciate you. Go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, hit the notification button, do all of that. Until next time, y'all, take it easy. Peace.